The history of View from the Window at Gras. Considered the first permanent photograph. Discover the astonishing origins of photography in our video. Dive into the story of Nicéphore Niépce, the pioneer who started it all, and how his passion and persistence gave birth to a visual revolution. A captivating story you can't miss. Chapter 1. The Dawn of the Permanent Image. In the early 19th century, the world was on the brink of a revolution in image capturing, driven by the curiosity and ingenuity of Nicéphore Niépce. In an era dominated by traditional art and manual reproduction techniques, Niépce dreamed of a way to automatically and permanently capture reality. This ambition was rooted in his deep fascination with emerging science and technology, elements that would define the distinctive character of his pioneering work. Born in France in 1765, Niépce began his journey in the art and science world with a curious and experimental mindset. His interest in the camera obscura, a device that projected images through a small hole, laid the groundwork for his future exploration. Although the camera obscura had been known for centuries, Niépce was one of the first to conceive the idea of permanently fixing these images, eventually leading to his key discovery of heliography. Niépce experimented with various chemicals and techniques, searching for the right formula to capture an image. His early experiments involved using sensitized paper and silver salts, but these attempts did not produce the lasting results he desired. It was his innovative use of Judea bitumen, a derivative of asphalt that hardened in the presence of light, that marked a significant breakthrough. By applying this material to a metal plate exposed in a camera obscura, he discovered that the areas exposed to light became insoluble, while the shaded areas could be washed away, thus creating a permanent image. Niépce faced considerable challenges. The long exposures required, sometimes several hours, limited his subjects to landscapes or static scenes. However, these challenges did not diminish his determination. Niépce continued refining his technique, finally capturing the first permanent image from the window of his property at Gras. This image, though rudimentary, marked a milestone in the history of photography and the beginning of a new era in image capturing. His perseverance not only expanded the horizons of art and science but also laid the groundwork for a lasting legacy in the world's visual history. Chapter 2. Collaboration with Daguerre. The story of photography took a significant turn with the encounter between Nicéphore Niépce and Louis Daguerre, another visionary in the emerging field of image capturing. Daguerre, a Parisian artist and theater designer, was fascinated by the possibility of fixing the images projected by the camera obscura. In 1826, when Niépce created the first permanent image, his work caught the attention of Daguerre, who was then experimenting with similar techniques but with limited results. This convergence of interests and skills marked the beginning of a fruitful collaboration. The union of Niépce and Daguerre was a powerful combination of scientific expertise and artistic sensibility. While Niépce had developed heliography, Daguerre contributed his knowledge of chemistry and his skill in manipulating light and shadows. Despite the barriers of distance and communication at the time, they shared ideas and experiments through detailed and passionate correspondence. Their collaboration was marked by a constant exchange of discoveries and techniques, in search of a more efficient and practical method for capturing images. Throughout their collaboration, Niépce and Daguerre made several significant advancements. Daguerre, with his more detail-oriented approach, perfected the sensitivity of photographic plates, reducing the necessary exposure time and improving image clarity. Meanwhile, Niépce contributed his deep understanding of the chemical processes required to fix these images. Although their advances were not immediate, the combination of their skills and knowledge was laying the groundwork for the future of photography. The collaboration between Niépce and Daguerre was not without challenges. Niépce's fragile health and technical obstacles slowed their progress. Unfortunately, Niépce died in 1833, not seeing the complete success of their joint efforts. However, his collaboration with Daguerre had been crucial. After Niépce's death, Daguerre continued working, eventually achieving the development of the daguerreotype, the first practical and commercially viable photographic process. This achievement would not have been possible without the years of joint work and the foundations Niépce had established in the field of photography. Chapter 3. The heliography process. Heliography, invented by Nicéphore Niépce, marked the beginning of modern photography. This process, whose name derives from Greek and means "writing with the sun," was based on the principle that certain chemical substances change under the influence of light. Niépce's innovation was not just capturing an image, but making it permanent. Before Niépce, images projected by the camera obscura were ephemeral. With heliography, these images could be fixed on a surface. Niépce's heliography process was meticulous and required a metal plate, usually pewter, coated with a Judea bitumen emulsion, a type of natural asphalt. This substance was sensitive to light, hardening in the illuminated areas and remaining soluble in the shadows. After a long exposure to light, which could last several hours or even days, Niépce washed the plate with a mixture of lavender oil and petroleum, removing the unhardened bitumen. This process left a negative image, which could then be treated to create a positive visualization. One of the most significant limitations of the heliography process was the extremely long exposure time required. Niépce's early images needed exposure for several hours, limiting his subjects to static views and landscapes. Although these limitations restricted the versatility of the technique, Niépce continued experimenting, convinced that his methods could be improved and eventually applied to a wider variety of subjects and conditions. Despite its limitations, heliography was a monumental breakthrough. It represented the first successful method for fixing and preserving real-world images. Niépce's technique, although surpassed in terms of practicality and quality by later developments, including the daguerreotype, laid the fundamental groundwork for the future of photography. His contribution to the field was crucial, transforming how future generations would capture and preserve visual moments. Chapter 4. The window at Gras. The window at Gras, a term now evoking reverence in photography history, refers to the location where Nicéphore Niépce achieved one of the greatest advances in the field, the first successful photograph. This window, located on Niépce's property in Saint-Lô-de-Varennes, France, offered more than a picturesque view. It was the setting for an experiment that would change how we see the world. Here, Niépce, with his ingenuity and perseverance, is prepared to capture not just an image but an immortal moment in history. The creation of the famous image from the window at Gras was a meticulous and laborious process. Niépce prepared his camera obscura, a device already known but never used in this way. He placed a plate coated with his Judea bitumen mixture inside the camera, pointing towards the window. The sunlight passing through this window projected the exterior image onto the sensitized plate. The exposure lasted several hours, during which the sunlight chemically altered the bitumen, engraving the image on the plate. That day, through his window, Niépce not only captured the outlines of the buildings and the landscape of his property but also immortalized a moment in history, the transition of image capture from being an ephemeral art to a permanent one. The image, though rustic and lacking the fine details characteristic of modern photographs, represented something never before seen, a fixed and enduring view of the real world, captured without human intervention in the artistic process. The image from the window at Gras is, in many ways, a symbol of the birth of photography. Although its technical quality is primitive compared to current standards, its historical and symbolic value is invaluable. It represents the first time a view of the natural world has been captured and preserved through chemical and optical means. This achievement not only highlighted Niépce's ingenuity and determination but also opened the doors to a new era of visual documentation and artistic expression. Chapter 5. Revealing the image. The revelation of the first photograph by Nicéphore Niépce was an event loaded with emotion and significance. After hours of exposure to light through the window of his studio at Gras, the critical moment arrived, the developing process. This step was as crucial as the capture itself, as the permanence of the image depended on it. Niépce used a mixture of lavender oil and petroleum to carefully wash the exposed plate, a procedure that required precision and delicacy to ensure that only the unhardened bitumen was removed. The task of revealing the image was not without challenges. Niépce had to experiment with different proportions and washing techniques to find the perfect balance that would not damage the fixed image. Each attempt was a trial and error process, with the risk of completely losing the captured image. These technical challenges highlighted the pioneering nature of Niépce's work. He was navigating uncharted waters with no map to guide his course. Despite the obstacles, Niépce successfully revealed his image, creating what would be known as the first permanent photograph in history. The image, a view from his window at Gras, captured not just the physical details of the landscape but also a transcendent moment. Although the photograph lacked the sharpness and clarity of modern images, its existence was a testament to human ingenuity and a giant step in capturing visual moments. Niépce's technique, though revolutionary, had obvious limitations. The long hours of exposure and the complicated development process made heliography impractical for more common uses. However, the most significant aspect of this achievement was not its limitations, but the possibilities it opened. Niépce had not just captured an image, he had unlocked a world of potential, paving the way for future innovations in photography and how we document our reality. Chapter 6: Recognition and Challenges. The work of Nicéphore Niépce, although innovative and revolutionary, faced a complex path towards recognition. In an era where painting and illustration were the dominant forms of visual representation, the idea of capturing images through chemical and optical processes was both fascinating and perplexing. Niépce's heliography, as a completely new technique, not only challenged existing artistic conventions but also raised questions about the nature and purpose of art itself. Among his contemporaries, there was both skepticism and amazement. While some saw heliography as a marvel of science, others considered it a curiosity or, worse, a threat to traditional forms of art. Scientists and artists of the time often struggled to fully understand the process and its implications. Although Niépce attempted to demonstrate and explain his work, the novel and technical nature of heliography made it difficult to fully comprehend and accept. Niépce faced significant challenges in promoting and patenting his process. His desire to keep some aspects of the procedure secret to protect his work complicated things. Moreover, the technical and unconventional nature of heliography made it difficult for Niépce to communicate its value and potential to a broader audience. These challenges, combined with his fragile health and limited resources, prevented his invention from gaining the attention and support it deserved during his lifetime. At the time of his death in 1833, Niépce had achieved little formal recognition for his contribution to photography. His technique, though fundamental, had not reached widespread adoption or understanding. However, the importance of his work did not diminish. It simply remained in abeyance, waiting to be rediscovered and fully appreciated in later years. Niépce's heliography, though initially underestimated, laid the groundwork for future advancements in photography, a debt the world would only fully recognize over time. Chapter 7: Niépce's Death and Initial Legacy. The final years of Nicéphore Niépce's life were marked by both personal and professional challenges. Despite his declining health and the lack of widespread recognition for his achievements, Niépce continued working tirelessly on his heliography process. His passion for innovation and belief in the potential of photography did not wane, even in the face of indifference and skepticism. Niépce died in 1833, leaving a legacy of perseverance and genius, though at the time, his significance in the history of photography was not yet fully recognized. After his death, Niépce's initial legacy was primarily maintained through his association with Louis Daguerre. Although Niépce was the pioneer in capturing permanent images, it was Daguerre who brought the process to a wider audience. Daguerre continued perfecting the technique, eventually developing the daguerreotype, a process that significantly reduced exposure time and improved image quality. While Niépce's heliography was the foundation, the daguerreotype was the catalyst that brought photography to the public domain. Recognition of Niépce's contribution to photography solidified slowly after his death. Historians and photography enthusiasts began to realize the importance of his work in formulating the basic principles of photography. Although the daguerreotype gained most of the fame in the initial years, the scientific and artistic community eventually recognized Niépce as the true pioneer in capturing permanent images. Niépce's legacy was not limited to his lifetime, rather, it served as a springboard for future innovations in the field of photography. His experimental approach and use of chemical materials opened new paths and stimulated research in image capturing. Throughout the 19th century, other inventors and artists, inspired by Niépce's work, continued exploring and improving photographic techniques, eventually leading to photography as we know it today. Chapter 8: Photography after Niépce. The death of Nicéphore Niépce marked not the end but a transition in the evolution of photography. Although his heliography technique did not become the standard, it laid the essential groundwork for what would come next. Louis Daguerre continued refining the process and, in 1839, presented the daguerreotype to the world, drastically reducing the necessary exposure time and improving image clarity. This development was hailed as a miracle of the modern era, making photography more accessible and practical for wider use. The 19th century witnessed a rapid evolution in photographic technology. Following the daguerreotype, various other processes emerged, each improving aspects such as reducing exposure time, ease of image reproduction, and equipment portability. The wet collodion process, introduced in the 1850s, offered sharper images and shorter exposure times. By the end of the century, the gelatin dry plate, with its greater sensitivity and longer storage, further revolutionized the field. These advancements enabled the capture of not just static landscapes, but also moments of everyday life and more personal and expressive portraits. Photography began to influence many aspects of society and culture. It allowed for more accurate visual documentation of historical events and people, influencing public perceptions of reality and history. Additionally, photography became a crucial tool in science and medicine, offering a way to record phenomena that the human eye could not capture or retain. Artistically, it challenged and enriched traditional forms of visual expression, giving artists a new tool and medium to explore. By the end of the 19th century, advancements in photography had made it more accessible to the public. Cameras became more portable and easier to use, and the process of developing and creating prints was simplified. This shift democratized photography, allowing not only professionals but also amateurs to document their lives and the world around them. Photography became an integral part of everyday life, establishing a foundation for its omnipresence in the 20th century and beyond. Chapter 9: Rediscovering Niépce. Throughout the 20th century, there was a growing interest in the figure and work of Nicéphore Niépce, especially among historians and photography enthusiasts. This resurgence was partly due to a greater appreciation of the origins of photography and the recognition that, although Niépce's technique had been surpassed by later developments, his contribution was fundamental to the birth of the medium. Researchers began exploring his life and work in more depth, highlighting the importance of his experiments and his pioneering role in the history of photography. Renewed interest in Niépce led to a series of studies and publications analyzing his work from a historical and technical perspective. These investigations revealed more details about his methods and his collaborations with other pioneers, like Louis Daguerre. The publication of books and academic articles helped disseminate knowledge about Niépce, and his name began to be mentioned more frequently in academic circles and among photography enthusiasts. A significant part of the interest in Niépce focused on the preservation and restoration of his existing work. Niépce's most famous image, View from the Window at Gras, was the subject of extensive conservation efforts. Using modern technologies, experts work to preserve this historic piece, ensuring its survival for future generations. These efforts safeguarded the physical image and reaffirmed Niépce's importance in the history of photography. Thanks to these research and conservation efforts, Nicéphore Niépce has received fairer and more complete recognition in the 21st century. Exhibitions, documentaries, and conferences have contributed to highlighting his legacy. Recognition of Niépce as the true father of photography is now more accepted and celebrated. His story inspires artists and scientists alike, reminding us that perseverance and innovation can open new horizons, even in the face of doubt and adversity. Chapter 10. Photography in the Modern World. In the modern world, photography has become an essential part of our daily lives and culture. The evolution from Nicéphore Niépce's early experiments to today's digital technology has transformed how we capture and share images. Photography is not just a tool for documenting reality. It has become a powerful medium for artistic expression, communication, and memory preservation. The ease of taking and sharing photos has allowed people worldwide to document their lives and share their perspectives instantaneously. Technological advancements, especially in digital photography and smartphones, have made photography more accessible than ever. The ability to capture high-quality images with a device that fits in our pocket has revolutionized how we interact with our surroundings. Social media has amplified this effect, allowing images to travel around the world in seconds, connecting people through shared visual experiences, and creating a constant flow of visual information. Photography in the modern world also has a profound social and political impact. It has been an essential tool in journalism, providing a window to distant events and helping shape public opinion. Images have the power to influence politics, expose injustices, and mobilize people around social causes. In an increasingly visual world, photography has proven to be one of the most effective ways to communicate messages and emotions, transcending language and cultural barriers. Niépce's contribution goes beyond mere technical invention. His determination and vision opened the door to an art form and communication method that have come to define the modern human experience. Photography, in its multiple forms, continues to be a testament to human curiosity and our relentless search for new ways of expression and understanding. From the window at Gras to the endless images flowing on our screens every day, we continue to live in a world profoundly influenced by Niépce's vision and ingenuity.